This is Honest Eve, and today I want to answer a question that keeps showing up in broken marriages and late-night conversations. How did my good husband turn so cold? When did he stop loving me? Most wives describe it the same way. He just changed. He woke up one day and wasn't the same man. He stopped caring, he shut down, he checked out. But that's not what actually happens inside a good man. Good husbands don't throw their love away the way people toss out an old shirt. They don't wake up one morning and decide, I'm done, for no reason. They quietly stop loving. Not dramatically, not loudly, not in a way that gives you an easy villain to point at. They withdraw, piece by piece. They adapt. They numb. And by the time anyone notices, it looks like he doesn't care at all. In this video, I'm going to walk you through why that happens. What is going on inside a man who used to be patient, affectionate, and loyal, but now feels distant, flat, and unreachable? Not the caricature of a bad guy, a good husband, the kind of man who showed up, tried, and meant his vows when he said them. This isn't about excusing every choice men make. It's about explaining a pattern almost no one talks about. How good husbands quietly stop loving their wives long before they ever leave. Before we talk about why his love fades, we need to be clear about who we're talking about. A good husband is not perfect. He forgets things. He gets stressed. He says the wrong words sometimes. But overall, he shows up for his family, works hard or does his best with what he has, tries to provide stability, does not want to hurt the woman he married. He remembers birthdays. He fixes things without being asked every time. He puts the kids first even when no one is watching. And in the beginning, he loves his wife with a kind of optimism that most women underestimate. He truly believes, if I love her, support her, and do my job, we'll be okay. His love isn't dramatic. It's steady. So when that kind of man starts to pull back, when he goes from planning dates to barely making conversation, from reaching for her in bed to turning away, it doesn't come from nowhere. Something has been happening to his heart for a long time. Good husbands don't stop loving because they get bored. They stop loving because they are living in a reality that makes it almost impossible for that love to keep breathing. And here is the hardest part for a lot of women to hear. Most of the time, he tried to explain it long before he went quiet. Men are usually taught two things about their emotional pain. Don't bother people with it. It won't change anything anyway. So when a good husband starts to feel hurt, rejected, or disrespected, he doesn't automatically explode. He tests the waters. He brings it up gently. That really bothered me when I feel like I can't do anything right lately. I miss how we used to be. If that conversation turns into an attack on his tone, a list of all the ways she has it worse, or a full-blown argument where he ends up apologizing, he learns something. Talking about how I feel is dangerous. It only creates more drama, so he adjusts. Next time, he softens it even more. Then he makes a joke instead of being direct. Then he stops mentioning it entirely. On the outside, it looks like nothing is wrong. On the inside, he's slowly turning off lights in different rooms of his heart. The light in the share openly room. The light in the reach for her first room. The light in the believe this can change room. When enough lights go out, the house is still standing. But it's dark. From the outside, you can still point at the structure and say, see, the house is fine. Inside, he's walking through empty rooms wondering how he ended up living with someone who feels more like a critic, a coworker, or a roommate than a wife. He doesn't announce this process. He just quietly does it. Good husbands don't start out resentful. They start out willing. He takes late shifts so the bills are paid. He drives across town to help her family. He fixes things in the house, plays with the kids even when he's exhausted, says yes to her plans, carries weight he never complains about. At first, he tells himself that's what a good man does, but over time, he starts to notice a pattern. His extra effort is met with expectation, not appreciation. When he does more, the response isn't thank you. It's, okay, now here's what else needs to be done. The one time he drops the ball, that's what gets talked about. The 10 times he quietly showed up, forgotten. So inside, he moves from, I'm glad I can take care of them, to, does anyone see what I'm carrying? From, I'll keep doing more, it's worth it, to, nothing I do will ever be enough. Resentment doesn't start with anger. It starts with exhaustion and invisibility. When a good husband feels like his sacrifice is taken for granted day after day, his love doesn't immediately vanish. It just loses its joy. He still does the right things, but not because he feels loved, because he doesn't know how not to. That's the first quiet shift away from loving her as a wife to simply functioning beside her as a reliable partner. For most men, love and respect are tied together. You cannot keep one alive while killing the other. When a good husband feels respected, even difficult seasons are survivable. When he feels disrespected, even small frustrations start to feel unbearable. Disrespect rarely arrives with a billboard. It sneaks in with sarcasm in her voice, eye-rolling in arguments, mocking jokes in front of friends, constant correction. Why did you do it like that? Talking to him like a child or an employee. She tells herself she's just being honest or keeping him accountable. He hears, you're stupid. You're always wrong. You're a problem I have to manage. At first, he argues back. Then he explains harder. Then he tries to improve. But if every effort is still met with criticism or indifference, something breaks. Not loudly, not in a dramatic blow-up. Quietly. He stops bringing ideas. He stops volunteering. He stops showing his vulnerable side because he knows it will be punished. He does the bare minimum communication necessary to avoid another lecture. Love cannot keep growing in an environment where a man feels constantly belittled. It curls up to protect itself. That's why you see so many good men who are kind to strangers, helpful at work, patient with kids, and completely flat with their wife. It's not because they became bad men. It's because the person they wanted most to impress became the person they felt safest shutting down around. Another reason good husbands quietly stop loving is simple. Peace becomes worth more than passion. In the early days, he's willing to argue, fight for the relationship, have hard conversations. But when every disagreement turns into hours of emotional chaos, when small issues become screaming matches, tears, or weeks of tension, when any attempt to set a boundary gets labeled cold, selfish, or uncaring, he learns that trying to fix things only makes his life worse. So he starts choosing peace instead of closeness. He stops bringing up problems. He stops asking for what he needs. He stops challenging her when she crosses a line. From the outside, it can even look like maturity. He doesn't argue anymore. He just lets things go. Inside, something very different is happening. He has realized, my peace matters more than trying to make this marriage feel the way it should. And here's what most people miss. When a man has to choose between peace and love inside his own home over and over, he will eventually stop loving in order to survive. The heart that once burned for connection goes into low power mode, just trying to make it through the day without another explosion. That's not the kind of man he wanted to become, but it's the man this environment trained him to be.
You cannot talk about a good husband's love fading without talking about intimacy. Not just sex, but yes, also sex. Most husbands don't need constant physical contact. They do, however, need to feel safe reaching for their wife, to believe she still finds them desirable, to know that sex is a place of connection, not judgment. When intimacy becomes a chore she resents, a bargaining chip she withholds, or something constantly shut down with, "I'm tired" and "not now," it doesn't just frustrate him physically, it wounds him as a man. Every no doesn't mean no to sex tonight. It slowly becomes no to you, no to your touch, no to the way you're trying to love me. A good husband will not usually cheat. He will not force or beg forever. He will simply shut off the part of his heart that still expects to be wanted. He adapts. He pours his energy into work, kids, hobbies, anything that doesn't reject him. His wife may say, he never tries anymore. He's just not romantic. What she doesn't see is that he tried for years, and each time, the cost of trying was humiliation. Once desire consistently leads to pain, distance becomes safer than love. So his love doesn't end with an affair or a scandal. It ends with a quiet decision in his own mind. I'm done asking to be wanted. When you put all of this together, unreturned effort, constant disrespect, lack of peace, and chronic rejection, you get a man who is still technically a good husband. He goes to work, he pays the bills, he shows up for the kids. He doesn't cheat or disappear, but the way he is there has changed. His love is not loud anymore. It's not eager, it's not playful, it's not vulnerable. It has quietly folded itself up and put itself away, where it can't be hurt. If you're a man listening to this and thinking, "That's me," hear this clearly. You are not broken for feeling the way you feel. You are not a monster because your love has faded under these conditions. Any human heart, when repeatedly dismissed, disrespected, and rejected, will eventually shut down. You are allowed to name what has happened to you. You are allowed to want more than bare survival in your own house. You are allowed to protect your peace without apologizing for it. If you're a wife and this was painful to hear, that doesn't mean your husband did everything right. It does mean you have a choice now. You can cling to the story that he just changed, or you can be brave enough to ask, what have I been doing that slowly taught a good man it was safer to stop loving me out loud? If you still want his love, not just his presence, start with this. Listen when he talks, instead of defending. Appreciate effort, instead of only pointing out failure. Treat respect as a daily practice, not a reward. Guard his peace as fiercely as you guard your own. And stop using intimacy as a weapon or an afterthought. Good husbands rarely demand these things. They simply fade when they're absent. This is honest Eve. Men, if this described what's been happening inside you, say so in the comments. You'll see very quickly that you are not alone. Women, if this made your stomach twist a little, don't run from that feeling. Sit with it. Ask him, honestly, if any of this feels true. If you want more conversations about what really happens inside men in modern relationships, subscribe and stay. I'll be back with more of what everyone feels, but almost no one is willing to say.